Hi, in this quick video I'm going to show you how easy it is to track timesheets for a team or an individual. This is particularly applicable in areas like horticulture, viticulture, contract labour teams, where you've got employees that you need to capture timesheets for remotely, or where you want to capture timesheets for a group of people. So on the right here you have my phone screen, and in the background is the management portal, which I'll come to in a second. So the app is designed to run on any smartphone, tablet, or PC, and the app version will run in an offline or online basis. So typically it's online. Online means if you've got a situation where you've got Wi-Fi, that's fine, or data access via the cell phone, then that'll work as well. It will also GPS locate the employee if you want and can take photos, but again, depends on the environment. So what would happen is that if I was entering a timesheet for an individual employee, the employee would enter their code, it will go into ad mode. So then depending on what I'm trying to track, I can use it as a straight time clock where I can start the time, go okay, come back out. So I've started my day. If I just go back in there for a second, the other thing I can do when I'm in here is I can put in a note. So this is where I would put a note about whatever it is I've done. I also have the ability to select different levels of cost center. So for example, if I was in a horticulture or viticulture environment, I can choose which orchard I'm working on or which block or whatever that references to you, the variety, and also task if that was the case that I needed to do that. So for example, I could choose that I'm working in the little orchard and I'm working on golden kiwi and I'm pruning, and then I'm tracking my time against that, and I simply go okay. What will happen is later on when I finish my particular shift, I would come back into the app, go back to my employee record, go in here and say finish. Now at the moment I don't have the camera turned on. If you're taking staff photos because they're using a shared device, then the camera will be active here and you'll take the employee's photo. In this case I'm not bothering to do that, so I've only tracked a minute for this particular job, but you'll get the idea. So as soon as I go okay, I don't want to do another job because I'm finished for the day, then that will log me out, and what that will do is that will sync with our server, which I'll show you in a second. So that's if you're doing it on a personal basis where the employees are using it either on their own cell phone or they're using a shared device putting in their PIN. The other option, which is what I really wanted to show you, is how do you track a timesheet for a group of employees where they may or may not have a device, but a team leader or supervisor will have a device to capture their times. So the supervisor would log into the team, and when I'm in here, I have the ability to do a number of things. So I can manage my team. So I can come in here and set up my team where I can add or remove staff from the team, but this is a predetermined team with 3 people in it. I can come in here and add a time, so I can then clock the entire team in. So I can say, right, the entire team is starting, or I can select an individual within the team, depending on what I want to do. So depending on what I'm tracking, I can also still track what they're doing. So for example, I could say they're working in the big orchard and they are working on citrus and they are currently harvesting. So I then put that in there, I go start, and I go okay. So then that's started the day for that entire group. And if I go back in, you'll see what I mean by that. So now I've got a timesheet that started for these people. Now, what will invariably happen is that one of the staff in the team will either start late or finish early or do something outside of the group. So I can, if need be, go into an individual employee and say, right, this particular employee actually started at 1600. So I can put that in there and go, okay. So now I've got my employees in here, some of whom started at one time and one who started at a completely different time to the others. So now I can see that this particular person, again, I can do the same with the finish time if that's the case. So having done that, I can then later in the day come and clock them off. What I can also do is I have the ability to deal with other options. So for example, if I wanted to come in here and say, right, we are tracking their piece rate hours. So obviously ordinary time would be where I'm paying them by the hour, but I may need to track the hours they're working where we're not paying them by the hour, but we are tracking their time so that we can ensure we meet the requirements of the Minimum Wage Act. So I can come in here and say, right, I'm tracking the number of hours that my staff did doing whatever it was they were doing. So I can say, okay, this group of employees did 8 hours today. They had a 30-minute lunch break or not, as the case may be. And again, I've still got the ability to come in here and say, right, they did those 8 hours working in the big orchard and they were working on golden kiwi and they were harvesting. So I've put in some time against their harvesting time and I can go okay. And I can then say, yes, I do want to do another options, because now what I want to do is I want to specify what their piece rates were. So now again, I've got the ability, so I've used an example of apples. So here I can come in and say, okay, they all picked, I'll just do one bin for now. And again, I can choose whatever it is. So for example, I would make that, I don't have any apples in here, but you get the general idea. I'll make it golden, I'll make it yellow kiwi. So I can specify and that they were harvesting. Now I can control what of the options an employee can see. So if a team's only working in the little orchard, then there is no other option, or I can give you access to the entire block if employees are moving around. So I go, okay, and no, I don't want to do anything else, and I'm out. If I come back into that timesheet now, my piece rates are sitting in here, and I can sync that, which will send the data, some of the data, to our server. Now at the moment, all I've still got left is the employees' start and finish times for their day worked, and then I can simply come back into the team and say, right, I want to finish everybody who's been working, and that will put in a finish time. And then now I'm using the manual sync by having to click the sync button. You can auto sync, so the data will automatically go. So what we're capturing with this information is real-time information. So this is capturing it on a device which is remote from the office, but you'll see in a second that all of that information is coming through live. So if I go sync all now, then all of that information will go through to the server, and it's just syncing now. And that information will be available in a second on the server. So sync the last one. Okay, so they're all gone now. So now I can go and do other things, add more staff. I can come in here, as I say, I can manage the team. I can apply breaks. So if you're doing paid and unpaid breaks, then you can track paid and unpaid breaks in the system. So for example, just go and add a time, start the entire team. Now I've got an option here. It won't let me because I haven't been there long enough, but I could use this yellow button to put in that they were on a paid break or an unpaid break. So if it's a paid break, we're just tracking how long they're on that paid break. It's not going to affect their pay. If it's an unpaid break, it will deduct the time for the entire team or an individual. So it's flexible in the app. It's completely remote, and it'll work in any environment. Now, in the background, I will just very quickly show you where that data goes. So we have a number of options in here as an administrator. So depending on the level of admin rights you have, if you're a full admin, you'll see the entire system. If you are a department or a supervisor admin or some level of admin within the environment, then you will only see the review times. But I can come in here very quickly, show you my visual review, my review time. So I can go and look at, let's go look at Beverly. So I can see that Beverly's done 3 hours working in the big orchard harvesting citrus. She's also done some time in the little orchard. She also did 8 hours of piece rates, and she also picked 1 bin of apples. So again, depending on the situation, you can have it set up so that the employee can, that the data has to be approved. So a question mark means that that data is not yet approved, or have it automatic depending on who's doing that. You can also control as to whether someone can edit this information if you want them to. So for example, I could come in here and say, well, actually, no, you weren't working on the little orchard, or you should have chosen that you were working on the citrus and that you were pruning. So I can change this information. I can change the time. So I can say, okay, well, you actually started at 1400, or you've started later, as the case may be. And I can do that on an individual employee, or I can manage the whole group of employees. So this is just editing one person, which will catch up with me in a second. Okay, so I can see now that that data has been edited by me, and now this employee's done 1 hour, and I've got the correct cost centers. So once that information is captured, then that's on an employee by employee basis, and I can see all of my staff total for a day, total for the week, total of what they've done. So each person has got their own record now, but I've only used one timesheet to capture all of this information. I've also got the ability to do a visual review. So this will show me where the employees were. So for example, if I look at Steve, and I go to this, so Steve was pruning the little orchard. If I click on that panel, it'll show me on the map where Steve was when that was happening. Now I'm doing this at home, so I'm getting all of the records here at home, but that gives me a visual review of where this timesheet was entered. If we're capturing start and finish time, so real-time entry, then we can tell you exactly where the employee is. Then there are a number of reports, so I can report on daily timesheets to see what's happened this week so far. So if I do that one now, and I won't include the notes, but you could include the notes. And it's just downloading that PDF, which will take a second. And here it goes, it's loading it up. So I can see here, based on what's been entered, the who's done what. So I can see that I've got some employees that have done some ordinary time, in what orchard, what they were doing, what fruit they were picking. If there was piece rates, I would get those as well. Obviously, I've got a COVID-19 thing in here. So whatever information has been entered against the employees will appear in this particular report. Now, because everything that we do is cloud-based, you can access this information from anywhere. So if I wanted to review my management portal from a cell phone, I've got the ability to go into cell phone mode. So this system is responsive. So I could be anywhere with an internet connection viewing the data from a PC, from a tablet, or for a phone in real time. And I've got the ability to see this information in real time. You've also got the ability to see real-time entries. Now, I probably don't have any because nobody's still currently clocked in. Oh, there we go. We've got Gene still clocked in. So Gene clocked in at 16:55 in the big orchard and hasn't yet clocked out. So as if you needed to do an emergency evacuation or figure out where everyone was, so long as they're using start times and finish times, then you can see in real time where everybody currently is. Then what you would do, basically, that information will just collate over the week. Then you would export it to your payroll, and then basically you'd go into your payroll and import it on the other side, and your pay is effectively done. We've also got a whole range of reports where we can work out what people have been doing daily, weekly, what orchards, varieties, tasks. Now, these are totally user definable. So whether you're tracking orchards, whether you're tracking blocks, whether you're tracking varieties, whether you're tracking types of sheep that you're shearing, or beasts that you're slaughtering, or what you're doing on your farm, it doesn't matter what you're doing. We can track all of that down to 3 levels, and we can track any sort of payment, whether that be payment for time, payment for piece rates, payment for mileage, expenses, whatever you need it to be. So it's totally user definable, and part of the process of what we do is we basically help you set this up, and then once it's set up and running, then you're good to go. So as I say, this is just a very quick overview of what the system's like, primarily to show you what the app interface is like, so that you can get a sense of what that looks like when someone is clocking. Just quickly bring that back up. So now this is, again, so this is the app where the employees or the team leaders or someone is tracking the time of an employee, and then that information is being captured back here in real time. So you're not having to wait for timesheets to arrive from the field. You're not having to wait for someone to fill in their timesheet at the end of the week and try and remember what they've done. Everything is captured as it happens. So hopefully that shows you how you can now manage your team's timesheets.